breaking through darkness, the sun returning from its long retreat, the birth of hope in the depths of winter. These themes echo across human cultures and throughout time, appearing in our oldest stories, our most ancient monuments, and our most cherished traditions. Welcome to our special winter solstice episode of Synapse and Shadow. I'm your host, Tegan Lleuad, coming to you with cozy solstice greetings. Today, we're taking a little break from our usual deep dives into science and witchcraft to celebrate something near and dear to my heart, the winter solstice. This magical moment when the longest night gives way to the return of the light has captivated humans for millennia. The word solstice comes from the Latin solstitium, sol meaning sun, and sister means to stand still. On this day, the sun appears to pause in its journey across our sky, giving us the shortest day and longest night of the year in the Northern Hemisphere. Being both a scientist and a witch, I find the solstice fascinating. Astronomically, it marks the moment when Earth's North Pole reaches its maximum tilt away from the sun, approximately 23.5 degrees, giving us the shortest day and longest night of the year in the Northern Hemisphere. This year, the exact moment occurs at 4:21 a.m. Eastern Time on December 21st. But beyond the astronomy, this celestial event has inspired countless celebrations, myths, and traditions across human cultures. From Neolithic stone circles to modern day celebrations, from astronomical alignments to psychological symbolism, today we'll explore how different societies have understood and honored this pivotal moment in Earth's annual journey around the sun. Whether you call it Yule, Saturnalia, Dongzi, or simply the winter solstice, this moment when darkness reaches its nadir and light begins to return has always captured human imagination. The ancient Romans celebrated it as Dies Natalis Solis Invicti, the birthday of the unconquered sun. The Norse people knew it as Yule, a time when the wild hunt rode through winter skies. In Iran, Yalda night marks this longest darkness with poetry, fruits, and fellowship. These celebrations, spanning continents and human history, share remarkable similarities. They speak to something fundamental in human experience, our complex relationship with light and darkness, and our eternal hope in renewal. Let's start by understanding our profound relationship with light and darkness. As a psychologist, I'm fascinated by how our bodies and minds are deeply attuned to the cycles of light and dark. On the biological side, our bodies operate on circadian rhythms that evolved over approximately 6 million years, anchored to the eternal interplay of light and dark. In your brain, a tiny region called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or the SCN, acts as your master clock, consisting of about 20,000 neurons that synchronize your body to the 24-hour cycle. This cluster of specialized cells responds primarily to light signals received through your retina and send precise timing cues throughout your body. This sophisticated timing system isn't just about sleep. It orchestrates the production of several different hormones, such as melatonin, cortisol, that's your asleep and awake hormones, and estrogen and testosterone, the sex hormones. Our levels of alertness, our body temperature, when we feel hungry and when we feel full. It even has a hand at regulating our emotions. One of its most critical functions out of many is regulating the melatonin production, which is often called the darkness hormone. As natural light fades, your SCN directs your pineal gland to begin producing melatonin, preparing your body for rest and repair. This delicate balance can be disrupted during winter's shortened days, leading to what we call seasonal affective disorder, or SAD, SAD. When our exposure to natural light diminishes, many people experience changes in mood, energy, and cognitive function. It's a reminder of just how deeply light influences our psychological well being. Our relationship with light runs deep in our psychology. When we say, I see what you mean, we're associating light with clarity. We speak of enlightenment as if knowledge itself were a form of illumination. In countless creation stories, the divine brings the world into being with an utterance, let there be light. And in our darkest moments, we cling to the hope of a light at the end of the tunnel. These aren't just metaphors or turns of phrase. They reflect fundamental patterns in how our brains process and understand the world. But darkness is equally essential for our well-being. During sleep, our bodies engage in critical healing and repair processes. Our brains process information and consolidate memories in the darkness of night. The glial cells in our brain actually shrink during sleep, allowing for better removal of metabolic waste, a process that requires darkness to function optimally. But our relationship with darkness goes deeper than biology. In the human psyche, darkness has always held dual significance. Yes, it can represent fear, uncertainty, and the unknown, but it also symbolizes potential, mystery, and transformation. Think about it. Every new life begins in the darkness of the womb. Seeds germinate in dark soil. Dreams and visions come to us in the darkness of night. The winter solstice speaks to both these aspects of darkness. It represents the depth of winter shadow, but also the promise of light's return. This duality appears in cultural traditions worldwide. The darkness isn't denied or dismissed, but honored as a necessary part of the cycle. This integration of light and dark reflects deep psychological and spiritual wisdom. Just as we were talking about a few weeks ago, Carl Jung spoke of the necessity of integrating our shadow aspects, those parts of ourselves we keep in darkness, with our conscious light self. He understood that psychological wholeness requires embracing both light and shadow, just as nature embraces both day and night. Of course, cultures around the world have understood this in their own ways for thousands of years. In Chinese philosophy, the concept of yin and yang represents this eternal cycle of opposite yet complementary forces. Celtic traditions speak of the light and dark halves of the year as equal parts of a sacred whole. Many different cosmologies describe creation itself as emerging from darkness, with both light and dark as essential aspects of its existence. Indigenous teachings worldwide emphasize the necessity of both forces, the darkness of the womb and the light of manifestation. The key isn't to banish darkness or to fear it, but to understand its essential role in the cycle of life. As we experience the longest night of the year, we're invited to reflect on this ancient wisdom. The contrast between light and dark creates the very rhythm of existence in in our bodies, in our psyches, and in our spiritual understanding. Okay, so let's travel back about 5,200 years to Newgrange in Ireland. This remarkable monument was built with incredible precision. Its passage aligns perfectly to capture the winter solstice sunrise, illuminating its inner chamber with golden light. For just 17 minutes each day during the winter solstice, sunlight penetrates the roof box and reaches the chamber floor, gradually extending to the rear of the passage. But Newgrain isn't alone. Across Europe, we find similar alignments. Maze Howe in Scotland's Orkney Islands, where the setting midwinter sun illuminates its interior passages. Stonehenge in England, aligned to frame both the summer and winter solstice sunsets. Goseck Circle in Germany, whose gates mark both solstice sunrise and sunset points. Each of these sites required immense effort and astronomical knowledge to construct. They tell us something crucial. Our ancestors considered the winter solstice important enough to encode in stone. Now let's address how these ancient solstice celebrations influenced Christian traditions. The choice of December 25th for Christmas wasn't arbitrary. In the year 274 of the Common Era, the winter solstice usually fell around the 25th, 26th of December, although now it is usually around the 21st or 22nd. Back then, the Roman Emperor Aurelian established December 25th as Dies Natalis Solis Invicti, the birthday of the unconquered sun. This way, he incorporated an established pagan festival into the Roman state religion. Around 100 years later, when Christianity became Rome's official religion, this date was repurposed for Christmas, the birthday of Jesus. And many familiar Christmas traditions have deep pagan roots. The Yule log, for example, has deep roots in Northern European winter celebrations. The custom involved selecting and burning a special log during the winter festival. The practice varied by region, but generally, a large log would be carefully chosen and ceremonially lit at the beginning of the celebrations. In many areas, particularly in England and Scandinavia, people would preserve a portion of the previous year's Yule log to light the new one, creating a symbolic connection between the years. Holly and mistletoe held special significance for the ancient Celts and Druids. Holly was particularly valued because it remained green and bore fruit during the dead of winter, demonstrating life's persistence through the darkest season. Its evergreen nature made it a symbol of endurance and eternal life. Mistletoe, growing between heaven and earth without roots in the ground, was considered especially sacred. Pliny the Elder documented that Druids would harvest mistletoe from oak trees with golden sickles as part of their rituals. The Christmas tree tradition emerged from Germanic customs as well. Originally, evergreen boughs were brought inside during winter as a reminder of persistence. The first documented decorated Christmas trees appeared in Alsace, now a part of France, but back then it was a part of Germany in the 16th century. Early decorations included apples, nuts, dates, pretzels, and paper flowers. The custom of decorating trees for Christmas was well established in Germany by the 18th century, particularly among Protestant families. Prince Albert, Queen Victoria's German husband, helped popularize the tradition in England after 1848, when an illustration of the royal family around their decorated Christmas tree was published in the London News. Even Santa Claus carries echoes of ancient myths. His primary historical root lies in St. Nicholas, a 4th century Christian bishop known for his generosity and gift giving. But many of Santa's attributes come from the Norse god Odin and the Dutch Sinterklaas. During the wild hunt, Odin rode his 8-legged horse, Sleipnir, through the sky, much like Santa's 8 reindeer. In the Netherlands, some children still leave their boots filled with carrots and hay near the chimney for Sinterklaas's white horse, and he will leave gifts in return. But winter solstice celebrations extend far beyond European traditions. In China, the Dongzhi festival marks the return of longer days and growing yang energy. Families gather to eat tanguan, round rice dumplings and sweet soup, symbolizing reunion and wholeness. The round shape of the dumplings represents the fullness of life and the completion of the annual cycle. In Iran, Shab-e Yalda is another celebration of light triumphing over darkness. It dates back all the way to the Persians in 500 BC. Families stay awake through the longest night, sharing pomegranates and watermelon, their red color symbolizing the crimson hues of dawn. They read poetry and share stories until sunrise. For many Native American people, the winter solstice holds deep spiritual significance. The Zuni people of New Mexico celebrate Shalako after the winter solstice, a ceremony that marks the year's end and welcomes the new year with thanks for the harvest and a request for blessings. The Hopi celebration of soil includes rituals and ceremonies that last 16 days, honoring the sun god Tawa. In Japan, the winter solstice is marked by the practice of toji. People take hot yuzu baths, believing the citrus fruit helps ward off colds and flu. It's also traditional to eat kaboka squash on this day, as foods that grow close to the earth are said to help humans stay warm and grounded through winter. These diverse traditions share common threads: the recognition of darkness's necessary role, the celebration of light's return, and the gathering of community to mark the celestial turning point. As we transition to exploring modern Neopagan traditions and the astronomy of the solstice, we'll see how these ancient themes continue to resonate. Different Neopagan traditions approach the winter solstice in unique ways, each bringing their own perspective to the celestial moment. In Wiccan traditions, the winter solstice is often celebrated as the rebirth of the god from the goddess. Many Wiccans see this as the moment when the Holly King yields to the Oak King. Wiccans might celebrate with a formal circle casting, calling the quarters, and ritual work focused on themes of rebirth and renewal. Norse inspired traditions, often called heathenry or asatru, typically celebrate what they call Yule over a 12-night period. Their celebrations often emphasize community gatherings called sumbul, where participants share a horn filled with mead or ale, make toasts, honor their ancestors and the gods, and their community bonds. Many Hindus incorporate the tradition of the Yule log and maintain vigils throughout the longest night. Druids often focus on the astronomical aspects of the solstice. Many Druid traditions hold ceremonies at dawn to welcome the returning sun. Their celebrations frequently incorporate natural elements like evergreen branches, holly, and mistletoe, though they interpret these symbols through a contemporary ecological and spiritual lens. Celtic Reconstructionist pagans typically approach the winter solstice by attempting to recreate documented historical practices while acknowledging gaps in our historical knowledge. They often emphasize family traditions and household customs, drawing from folkloric sources while maintaining a scholarly approach to historical research. Greek Reconstructionist traditions, or Hellenists, might focus on celebrations honoring Apollo, Helios, or Dionysus, depending on their specific tradition and historical sources. Some celebrate Linnea, a winter festival of Dionysus, while others focus on solar deities at the solstice. Slavic inspired traditions often celebrate Kaladia, incorporating practices like caroling, ritual foods, and divination. Many maintain traditional customs like the sharing of kutia, a wheat based ritual food, and the burning of ritual fires. What's particularly fascinating is how these different traditions often arrive at similar themes through different paths. The importance of community gathering during the darkest time, the symbolic significance of light returning from darkness, or the rebirth of a god, the role of feast and celebration in maintaining community bonds, the practice of honoring ancestors during this liminal time, and the recognition of nature cycles and human connection to them. Whatever your chosen path, most modern pagan traditions emphasize personal authenticity in practice. They encourage practitioners to research historical traditions while developing celebrations that resonate with their own spiritual understanding and modern context. It's also completely acceptable to blend elements from different traditions, especially those reflecting your own heritage or spiritual calling. This adaptability is seen as a strength, allowing ancient wisdom to remain relevant in contemporary life while honoring the original spirit of the celebrations. While these various traditions each offer their own beautiful approaches to honoring the solstice, what matters most is finding the practices that resonate deeply with your own spiritual understanding. Let me share how I personally approach this sacred time of Yule. As a practitioner of the moonshine path, I draw inspiration from the rich well of Welsh mythology and weave it together with insights from modern psychology and science. I approach Yule as a time of both releasing and visioning. My practice begins at sunset on the longest night. I start a solitary vigil that will last until dawn. First comes the releasing, writing down what no longer serves me, what stories I've outgrown, what patterns I'm ready to leave in the dark. Then, as midnight approaches, I perform a cleansing ritual using traditional Welsh herbs. The deepest part of night is reserved for divination, seeking wisdom from the darkness about what coming light might bring. And as dawn approaches, I prepare to greet the new sun. This moment, when light first breaks the horizon, holds particular power. It's the first glimpse of growing light after the longest dark. I celebrate with a simple ritual of gratitude and welcome. For those of you wanting to develop your own solstice practice, here are some suggestions. Start by considering what this moment means to you personally. Is it about release, renewal, rest? There's no wrong answer. The key is authenticity to your own spiritual understanding. Some simple practices you might consider are keep a candle burning through the longest night, but be sure to watch it for safety's sake. Write down what you wish to release and then safely burn it. Set your intentions for the growing light. Create art that expresses your relationship with darkness and light. Spend time in nature observing the dawn. Share a meal with loved ones, celebrating community in darkness. Remember, the most meaningful traditions often start simply and grow over time. Let your practice evolve naturally, incorporating elements that speak to your heart. So, however you celebrate or not, I invite you to take a moment this solstice to honor the darkness and welcome the light in whatever way feels meaningful to you. Remember, even in the deepest dark, the wheel is always turning. The light will come again. The wheel turns, hope endures. Thank you so much for spending a little slice of solstice magic with me today. If you want to learn more about the topics we explored, check out the show notes for historical sources, astronomical details, and resources for celebrating the season. And if you're craving more Synapse and Shadow goodness, make sure to subscribe so you never miss our regular deep dives into the fascinating connections between science, magic, and the marvelous human mind. From my cozy hearth to yours, I'm wishing you a blessed solstice and a joyful return of the light. Until next time, this is Tegan Lleuad asking you to keep embracing the magic in the mundane and the science in the sacred, and always reminding you to keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep dancing between worlds.